It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome back to the TradeMate Sports Betting Podcast. It's been a little bit of a lapse between episodes, managed to get some well-needed rest, but we're back, episode 73 of the TradeMate Sports Betting Podcast. We'll be doing a live FA Cup preview of all the betting action this weekend. Won't go through some of the other games in Europe just because our main man George has told me that the referees aren't released yet, so we don't want to be giving you guys too much stuff there, and then some referee comes in that doesn't really suit the pick. So we'll be going through a couple of FA Cup games today: Aston Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Man United, Watford. And as always, if you guys have got any questions at any time throughout the stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're listening, please make sure you send them through, and maybe we can have more of a Q&A towards the end or throughout, since we won't be covering as many games. George, mate, how are you? How's the festive period, mate?
It's been a bit of a weird one, truth be told. I mean, it's obviously
not too festive.
Not at all. It doesn't matter what I do. I can watch Elf on repeat if I wanted to. There's absolutely no way that I was getting into the festive spirit. So as soon as it went past midday, it was like, let's just get the drinks out, to be fair. But it's anything you can do. Obviously, we've just gone into a third lockdown. So it's just a bit of a nightmare, really. Bit of a write-off of a Christmas. But obviously, One good thing about it is obviously football stayed on. So that's the only thing been keeping us sane. But yeah, so I can't complain too much. There's people in worse situations, but it's not been a normal Christmas. So roll on the next one already, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate. Man City pick up a couple of wins, so that'll make you happy.
Oh, absolutely. We've been sensational. Obviously, I might have to get to talk about that in a bit, but we've been.
You won't shut up on Twitter, will you, mate, about last night's performance?
Oh, do you know what it is? I've got so many friends of mine that are United fans that have been all week have been piping up saying, "Oh, we're in such good form. We're going to bring City to town. We're going to roll them over. We're going to get through. Ollie's going to get through a semi-final to the final." Or like, just the standard when the draw was announced, it was, so it looks like United are playing Tottenham in the final. Then it's just, it was just so good just to get the win over them. Playing sublime football with, as well as that, having Ruben Maldini and John Nestor at centre half, things you absolutely love to see. John Stones, Rolls Royce of a centre half.
What's happened to Laporte?
Oh, he's been ousted, it looks like. But
wow, that's huge.
I know. The thing is, obviously, I know seasons gone by, everyone said Laporte's the only sort of centre half on a level or challenging Van Dijk for best centre half in the league. But since John Stones has come in and partnered with Ruben Diaz, the stats speak for himself. We conceded 1 goal, I think, in 8 or 9 games with 7 clean sheets. Don't fix what isn't broken. So they're phenomenal at the moment. And Laporte gets a chance to come back. I think he's got a little bit of an injury still. I don't think he's fully recovered yet anyway. But no, when Ruben Diaz and John Stones are playing so well, you can't break that up, really, can you?
No. Get him on loan to Arsenal, mate. Give him some game time. We'll happily take him.
Some punishment, that'd be. Oh.
Yeah, that's horrible, isn't it? That would be the ultimate punishment. And last time we were on, mate, West Brom, I think you had West Brom to get 2 cards. I think it was like 183 or something like that. And that came through relatively early, and one of the cards was a red card. So I think your best of the weekend record has now gone to 10 out of 14, 10 in the last 14. So I think
it's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, it's a 70% strike rate, something like that. I was doing the maths yesterday. So, I mean, mate, it's a huge sample, of course. So you're on fire.
That's it, mate. It can only get bigger. Story of my life.
Exactly. Mate, Nigel obviously isn't joining us this week, as you can probably tell. I think he's on holiday, so much needed rest for the big fella, and he should be back next week. But we'll kick along. Quiz question of the week. I forgot to actually find one, but I was doing a bit of research on the Arsenal-Newcastle game, and I thought, just off the top of my head, there might be an interesting quiz question here, just doing a bit of research on Newcastle's cup form. So, mate, my quiz question this week, and we'll reveal the answer. Well, we might as well do the answer when we're covering the Arsenal-Newcastle game, or else it'll make it not as interesting. When was the last time Newcastle made it to a quarter final in a Carabao Cup or FA Cup before 2019? It's 2019 or 2020. So 2020, I believe they made it through to the FA Cup quarterfinals. I was just looking before. If Wikipedia is a good source, then yes, they did.
Oh no!
But before that, it had been a very, very long time since they'd made it to a quarterfinal or better. So that's my quiz question, mate. It's a bit of a weird one, but you know.
I'm glad you simplified it though, just to make the question easier. It's really good.
Well, I didn't even get one down. I was too useless that I completely forgot to get one down. So, I mean, on the run, I think it's a pretty good quiz question, mate. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, at least.
So, just to confirm, what was it when they last reached a quarterfinal? Did you say
in a cup competition previous to 2019? Let's just say.
Okay. Yeah. Do I get any multiple choice with this or?
Oh, yeah.
Nearest year.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. We'll see, mate. We'll see how good you're going, and then I'll give you a few options. I don't want to give you any options, mate. You always get it right. So it's just.
This is true.
I got to win something. All right. Well, let's kick things off. I forgot to let these little lower thirds up, but we'll go Aston Villa versus Liverpool to kick us off. FA Cup third round. I'll get the odds up on my screen here. A bit random. I'll give it a refresh and see if Odds Checker's updated. But this is a bit of a strange one because I was looking at the odds yesterday, and from memory, Liverpool were at about 2.15, and Aston Villa were at 350 or something like that. So something's happened in the last 24 hours or so. I haven't had time to have a real deep look. My assumption would be that, I mean, either there's been a major injury for Aston Villa, or Klopp's come out and said he's going to play Salah and Mane and all these big stars. I don't know. Have you heard anything here?
Yes, it's been quite big news over here. Aston Villa had to shut their training ground due to a massive COVID outbreak. I think they've got a number of positive cases, but the players who've contracted COVID are unknown. So no one actually knows whether it's, sort of fringe players anyway, or if it's a few of the first team. No one quite knows really, but all they know is there's been a big outbreak. There's going to be, if it's causing you to shut your training ground, chances are it's going to be quite heavy. So I think that's obviously got the main part to play. Playing Liverpool's tough anyway with a full strength squad, so let alone being ravaged by COVID. Villa are going really strong in the league. So you do question, is this a cup they're going to want to obviously progress in, or is it kind of something that is a bit of an inconvenience to them as they try and do the best they can in the league? I think Dean Smith would probably bring the changes anyway, because he's stuck with the same group of players throughout the festive period, so they're entitled to rest now. But who knows if it's even possible? Because if they haven't got many players, even if it is the fringe players that he was planning on bringing in, he's going to have to go with the same people again, or either that or academy players. So I think either way, but Liverpool, they don't tend to do so well in this kind of competition. I think they do tend to obviously have their focuses elsewhere rather than this cup competition. But I think the price is fair given all of the, given everything and all the combining factors going into it. Ravaged by COVID, we're probably going to bring changes anyway. That Liverpool price is not surprising. I don't think you're going to find value in a Liverpool result. But, maybe potentially half-time, full-time would be an interesting one. But again, it all comes down to, who Klopp decides to pick. Because, Liverpool's injuries, that it's beginning to ease slightly. But he still remains without, I think, around 6 first-team players. Obviously Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip. So he'll make changes to his 11. So I'd imagine you'll see players such as, Minamino, Origi. Maybe even Xherdan Shaqiri will get a run out as well. I know Thiago, I think he played a small part, and I think he'll want to get his fitness back, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him feature in this one as well, just purely for the fitness aspect. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the odds here are. I'm just on a Bet365 at the moment, and I was going to kind of look at the angle of a half-time, full-time for Liverpool. Just trying to find where it is here. But obviously, there's no odds offering here, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the market's kind of been flipped on its head. It's
because they're not sure if the game's even going to go ahead, to be fair.
Yeah.
So obviously, but if the game goes ahead, I'll potentially be looking at Liverpool half-time, full-time result. but need to try and find the odds for that one. But I do like that just purely because I think Villa will. I don't see Dean Smith playing the first teamers that he's stuck with throughout the festive period, and obviously got some good results. They're going to need a rest, and a competition like this is a good chance for that to happen. So I'd expect to see a lot of academy players, youngsters looking to get their chance in this one, going up against Liverpool, because it's a nothing game for Villa. I think they want to focus on the league, and obviously give players rest. So
do you think though?
Get a big result.
Yeah, I guess the way I looked at it is that Aston Villa on fire in the EPL, and obviously probably you would assume coming into the season their main priority is just staying up, which they've achieved. You could pretty safely say they've achieved that they're going to stay up this season. And you look at the ladder, like I think they're coming 8th or something. I know the ladder's an absolute mess with games in hand and all that kind of stuff going on. But wouldn't you think like they've achieved staying up in the EPL? Like, would they rather chase a European spot, which is bloody hard to do, even though they're halfway through the season and looking pretty decent? Like, that's a big, big call. Wouldn't something like the FA Cup be more of a priority, especially since they've had a week since their last game and they've had a little bit of a rest?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you kind of look at, like you said, with the games in hand, it is a bit of a mess at the moment. They've got 2 games in hand over Liverpool, who are top of the table at the moment. Win both of those, they go, I think, to a point behind them. So, it's crazy to think if Villa win their 2 games in hand, they're in the top 3, or top 4, I should say. But when they came into the season, like, as we've already established, their aim was staying up. As you said, they're going to do that. Let's be honest, they are going to do that. They're playing some excellent football. There's got to come a point in the season where you think, is our plan and is our goal still the same? Do we just want to stay up and finish as high as we can? Or now we're in this position, can we push forward for Europe? Because Aston Villa getting into a European competition the season after, they very, very narrowly missed out on relegation. But that's one hell of a feat. So I'd agree with you on that. I think their main priority should be going for Europe, personally, now they've reassessed it and given the situation that they're in, which just lends itself, for me, in my opinion, that I don't think they're going to go all out to try and win this game if it goes ahead. It's just got Liverpool. Again, it depends who they put out, because if they put out a bunch of kids as well, I mean, I don't think it was that long ago that we saw, what was it, like a 4-4 or something? Just something, a ridiculous scoreline. When these two played, was it 4-0? I can't remember, but it was a big scoreline.
That's right. Yeah, they lost to, or in the EPL, they lost. Aston Villa beat Liverpool like 7-2.
Oh no, there was that one, but there was a cup. I think there was a cup competition last season when Liverpool put out a bunch of kids. I'm sure it was this one.
Okay.
In fact,
no, that was against Arsenal. It was 5-5. Went to penalties. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah. But I know, because it was also in the League Cup. Villa played Liverpool, and Villa won 5-0. But yeah, again, with that one, Villa had a much stronger team out, whereas Liverpool put literally all of their kids in there. All of their kids. There wasn't, I don't think, one recognised first-team player in there in that starting lineup. So, whereas I think it'll be role reversal in this one. I really do. I think Villa, if it goes ahead, are going to be forced to put some very unrecognised players in there. And Klopp should see this as a chance just to progress forward, obviously, in the competition. So, yeah, for me, if I was to pick one out of this, depending on price, I'd be going for half-time, full-time on Liverpool. I noticed when you put it on odds checker there that it did come up with some potential odds for it. So just going to quickly try and find out which one that was.
I thought the line was pretty interesting. Like Aston Villa plus 1.5 is the line, or 1.5 is the line at the moment. So I thought that was reasonably interesting, something that people might be interested in if you want to, I don't know, either way, but I don't know, just on then you just take a punt on the fact that Aston Villa could put out a strong team and Liverpool don't put out a strong team. I mean, I think overall, like, I don't know if you'd agree with me or not, but for a game like this, I mean, it might be cancelled anyway, but would you be waiting 1 hour before kickoff when the lineups are released and then try and be as quick as possible and get on something, especially if, it could be flipped on its head if Liverpool, don't play their strongest team, Aston Villa play a strong team. We're not talking about a move from Liverpool going from 1.3 to 1.5. Like, that would be a pretty decent shift, you would think. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you on that, again, because there's too many variables of potential things that can happen. I'm of the opinion, if I'm Dean Smith, I'm not risking I've earmarked this game as I'm not going to play my full strength team. They've played pretty much stuck with the same side throughout the festive period, which has been rammed full of games. They need a rest. The league is the main one that we want to be doing well in. This isn't really one that, I don't want to risk injuries, get an injury to a key player, and it impacts the league, which is not what we want. So let's give some fringe players a chance to impress in this one, see if they can. That'd be my take. That's what I think will happen. But going back to your question, I'd probably still be waiting for the lineups to be announced just in case. But looking on Oddschecker here, though, for at the moment, best price for Liverpool half-time, full-time result, you're looking at around, literally bang on evens on Paddy Power. So double your money there, and Betfair as well, obviously. So I think that's a great play. But like you said, we kind of wanted to wait just to see about the lineups. But yeah, I think that'd be a good play.
Yeah, I think I've said this a couple of times on the podcast, but there was a game between Arsenal and Liverpool in the Cup. The Carabao, was it the Carabao? Yeah, Carabao Cup, only a couple of months ago, 3 months ago or so, and I was just sitting there because I knew Liverpool were favourite to win the game and Arsenal were at something like 4s or something like that, and I knew that Liverpool are most likely, because that when they have a cup competition game, they normally put out a less than their best lineup, and they did that, and I knew Arsenal would play a decent lineup, or at least I know that Arsenal's second team is not the worst, like although their first team's not that bad, not that great, like their second team is not that far behind. So, and yeah, as soon as the teams came out, it was this kind of similar story that I thought, and Arsenal went from 4s to 3s. So if you're there waiting, like in terms of value bets, this is like cup competitions are fucking prime for this kind of stuff. Like if you have knowledge of, I have great knowledge of Arsenal because I follow them every week, Man City, and people probably just generally around the EPL. If you know what a team's best team looks like and what it doesn't, like you can just quickly snap up some really good value betting opportunities. And like the example that we like to use, there was a Chelsea Man City cup game, like 2016. I don't know if your mind goes back that far, but it's the example we always use with TradeMate. And I think Chelsea were favourites at 1.8 or something like that. And City came in and they played 5 debutants, youngsters that never played before. And Chelsea's odds went from 1.8 to 1.3. And there was a Norwegian bookie that stayed at 1.8 for like 30 minutes or something like that. So that's the example we always use with TradeMate, and that, if you're smart, you can really pounce on some good opportunities.
I do remember that game quite well. I remember seeing the lineups and just like, oh no, this is gonna be a long afternoon. We held our own for the first half. I was like, surely not. We're going to do something here. Got all excited and then got absolutely pumped. But you're right that you're absolutely bang on. If you can find value like that, and particularly if a bookie holds, then you've got to take advantage when you can, particularly if you've got that knowledge.
Yeah. And got a Facebook user here saying, can it be a draw? I mean, it certainly can. You can bet on a draw. But I guess the question is will it go to a replay or does it go to penalties? Or I assume they're not going to do extra time.
No, I don't think they do. I'm pretty sure it just goes straight to penalties, doesn't it? I think because of the way the season is, particularly with COVID, I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm fairly certain that they've said there will be no replays, just simply because the schedule's already just absolutely manic.
That would be criminal.
It would, but it's similar with the League Cup in the fact that the semi-finals that are usually 2 legs were just 1 leg this time. Thank goodness, because I don't think my heart could take another derby. But still, so I'd imagine it'll just go straight to penalties. I don't think there'll be any replays. So in answer to that, yes, it can be a draw after the 90 minutes, but it won't be a draw on the day. They'll be going to penalties, I'd imagine.
Yep. Awesome, mate. Now, before we get on to Arsenal, Newcastle and Man United, Watford, mate, we've got some interesting and very exciting news for the TradeMate Sports Betting Podcast, which is now brought to you by MANSCAPED, our first partner or sponsor, whatever you want to call them. MANSCAPED is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Now, you might have heard of them before, George. I'm sure you're already a user, mate, but MANSCAPED offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And the good thing is, mate, most of our audience are from the UK and obviously around Europe too, but MANSCAPED just launched in the UK. And obviously they're also available all around Europe, all around the world, Australia, North America. So, mate, we've decided to partner up with them, and I think it's a very it's an important thing, isn't it, for us, George, that we're
hugely important.
It's hugely. I mean, just from my own experience, mate. You know, I do a regular trim down there every now and then, just to keep the missus happy, and it just all the time, mate. There's just probably every second shave, or maybe even more regularly than that. It's just something gets nicked, and it's an absolute bloodbath.
Oh, I love how you had to describe it like that. Oh, my word. Oh, Jesus, like a scene from Gladiator. But no, I mean, yeah, you've got to be manscaping. It's massively important. Similarly to you, it's got to be done at least 2, if not 3 times weekly. But the little nicks are horrendous. And I'm pretty sure the Manscaped 3.0 has this little light that when you're going along, so it shows you exactly where you're going next as well, so you don't miss anything. The skin technology, so that there are no nicks, and it's a great piece of kit, absolutely brilliant piece of kit. I wouldn't advise anyone to get anything else other than that for sorting out your nether regions.
Yeah, no, mate, I couldn't agree more. And I will say that I used it just over the Christmas break, and yeah, it's incredible. It actually, like, as opposed to some other razors or shavers that I've used in my time. There was no blood. There was no pinches. Like, isn't it just the worst feeling? I don't know if you've experienced it before, mate. I assume you have. Of course you have. Just that little pinch. Oh,
there was no nightmare on Vella Street then, so we're all right.
No, not at all, mate.
But let's be honest, no lads should be walking around with a secret garden, should they? So if you don't want that, make sure you go and get Manscaped.
Yeah. So what's happened is their engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, and yeah, they've just like you said, mate. They just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. This is, as you can see in the camera here, it's superb. And yeah, let's just say that gave it a test over the Christmas break, like I said, and my missus was pretty happy with the results. And look, fellas, if there's any tips I can give you in the bedroom, it's to get yourself a little Manscaped trimmer, and I reckon not only will your performance improve, but the likelihood of being able to even perform will significantly improve. And I've been in contact with the TradeMate staff who've also been given a Lawnmower 3.0, and yeah, look, Marius, CEO, he's had an improved performance, and also some of our developers too, Jan and Toby. They can't speak highly enough. So, yeah, and you also get this like little the reviver, the ball toner they call it. So that gives you a little spray after you've done the deed, and look, it's a very beautiful smell. And they've also got the waterproof technology, which allows you to groom in the shower. And I think my favorite feature though is the LED light. So as soon as you turn it on, it really lights up your area, and you can really get a good idea of where you need to do your work. So yeah, it's just an incredible thing. If you're listening to me right now and you're thinking, I want to experience what Alex has experienced in the TradeMate team, even George himself, you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TRADEMATE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Make sure you use the code TRADEMATE. And as Manscaped say, you can see on my T-shirt here, it's probably a little bit, oh, I've gone the wrong one. You can probably see, but your balls will thank you, George.
Mate, there's nothing else I can add on to that. If I'm honest, to coin a phrase, covered everything.
I have. All right, let's move on. Arsenal, Newcastle, a game that hasn't been flipped on its head like Aston Villa and Liverpool. I've just got the odds up on the screen here. So you can get Arsenal at around the 1.48 kind of mark, something around that. Draw at 4.8 on Unibet. That seems to be quite an outlier there. And Newcastle, you can get them for 7.45. If you use Unibet, they seem to be the best odds on this game generally. What have I written down here? I think it's just another case, isn't it, of lineups and what Mikel Arteta will do, because we've been, been quite revitalised lately with the inclusions of Smith Rowe and Saka. I mean, Saka's always been in the team, but Smith Rowe has been the big inclusion. I like to call him the glue. He's kind of glued everything together in attack, and it's been a completely revitalised team. But do you play them? That's the big question. Do you play them? Because I think especially Smith Rowe, and I think Saka too. Like, Saka's taken a beating in some games, and Smith Rowe has been very injury prone. Do you give them a rest for this game? And then Partey and Gabriel are back, it seems. I don't know if they'll start, but they are certainly back, and I would assume they'll be at least included in the squad that will be playing Newcastle. And to answer we might as well, should we just do the quiz question answer now? Because it's kind of what I wanted to talk about with Newcastle is they haven't had a very good cup record other than that quarterfinal appearance last season in the FA Cup. So, mate, do you want to have a guess when the last time they made a quarterfinal appearance or better?
Because I was trying to remember, did they not make it I feel like they made it to the quarterfinal of the UEFA Cup, or the Europa League as it's now called. But
oh no, I'm talking about just FA Cup and Carabao.
Oh, just FA Cup and Carabao. And you said it was before 2019.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, mate. Do you know what? You might have stumped me on this one. I have not got a clue. I'm going to say, I feel like it's going to be fairly recently. Stab in the dark, 2016. I feel like it was in the cup, then they got to a quarter, because no one remembers who got to a quarter final. But I feel like they might have just surprised people and got one 2016, I'm going to say.
Mate, I tried to give you a hint. I said they've got a terrible cup record, and it's been a very, very long time. It was actually, I think it was 2005 or 2006, something like that, when I looked before. I can get the record up here, but yeah, you haven't done yourself any favors there. I mean, we're just going off Wikipedia here.
Yeah, but hang on, you're going on Wikipedia, where literally I could go on there and edit anything I want to say what I want.
2005, 2006 season, they reached the quarterfinals, and that was in the FA Cup, I believe. Yeah, in the FA Cup. Wikipedia's right, mate.
Because I've got here, the two faces transfer markets, I don't know how reliable it is, and it says they got to the quarterfinals in the EFL Cup against Hull City in 2016-17.
Right. Well, they would beg to differ, Wikipedia. This is awkward.
How bad is it that my character is refusing to let me be wrong? Like, do you know what? I'm actually Googling this properly. No, I'm not having it. 2016-17 quarterfinals. No, I don't care about Champions League. I want the EFL Cup. Said no one ever.
No, it's FA Cup.
But you said all EFL Cup.
Yeah, or EFL Cup. Yeah. Throw that in there. But I'm just saying that this is the FA Cup that I'm talking about in terms of them making the quarterfinal in 2005, 2006.
Yeah, so because they made it to the quarterfinals at the EFL Cup in 2016.
Oh well, people can decide who they believe, and
I'm baffled. I am absolutely baffled. I mean, if you just said FA Cup, Alex, you'd have been right, and I'd have been very much wrong. But do you know what? Just for the sake of argument, I'll take the L.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Just take it on the chin, move on, and come back another day.
Come back another day.
All right, let's actually talk about this game. So, general thoughts on this one, mate.
Newcastle have got an absolutely torrid record against Arsenal. In fact, I think Arsenal have won 14 of their last 15 against them in all competitions as well. But Arsenal have won their last 6 matches in the FA Cup as well. And as we all know, they do tend to do well in this competition, even when things aren't going right in the league. They've also kept a clean sheet in their last 4 home matches against the Magpies in all competitions, whereas Newcastle conceded at least 2 goals in their last 3 matches in the FA Cup. So everything's pointing to goals for Arsenal. But obviously what you mentioned previously with, team selection, as it were, as you said, Magalhaes and Partey look like they're going to return from injury. as you said again, whether they start or whether they make an appearance is yet to be seen. I think the other interesting thing for me though is the goalkeeping selection. Because I think is it Alex Runarsson. He had was it against City? Did he have an absolutely torrid time?
Yeah, I listened to this Arsenal Vision podcast for any Arsenal fans. It's a great podcast, and they call him Shitterson because I think is his first name Runa or something.
Runa, yeah.
Yeah, so they call him Shitterson. It's quite funny. Yeah, Alex Runarsson.
But I mean, it's difficult. I mean, no one purposely goes out and does appallingly, do they? But ultimately, if you're paid to play, then you can't. I mean, it does look like you won a competition to play, doesn't it? They just grab some bloke out the stands, like, mate, can you do a job in sticks for us, like on Sunday League? But if he goes in goal, I think it'll make for actually quite an entertaining game, particularly if Andy Carroll gets a rare start, which wouldn't surprise me because I reckon they're going to want to wrap Callum Wilson in cotton wool because obviously, again, their lead form is integral and they need to beat the drop. So I don't think we'll see Wilson in this game. So watching from set pieces as Carroll goes up against Runarsson, I think that's just going to be absolutely classic. As a neutral for you, I'm sure it'll be terrifying. But it looks like Hayden might slot back into the side because he missed their last game through suspension. Never realised he used to play for Arsenal as well. So interesting for him to go back to his former club. But yeah, regardless of all of that, though, I still see Arsenal sailing through this one. I just don't think Newcastle are going to be that up for it. It's not their main goal. Like I said, as it said in there, their main goal is to stay up in this division. I feel sorry for Newcastle fans because they're not exactly exciting. Are they? They're not pushing to go anywhere. They're not trying to make moves. They're just existing somewhat, in my opinion. And I think Newcastle fans with a club that size deserve far better. Newcastle are the sort of club everyone's called them a sleeping giant, similar to the way they used to do with Leeds. And winning a competition like this, it would surely show actually we're Newcastle. This is where we want to be. We need to be doing this more regularly. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening this weekend. I see Arsenal progressing through. In terms of an outright bet, there's too many outlining sort of variables that I wouldn't want to have a go on this one. If I had to, I'd have an Arsenal to win this one. I just think they've got far much more firepower, far much more quality. And everyone knows Arsenal are going to stay up. They're going to be fine. They've been through a bad patch, but if there's too much quality there still for them to go down, it'd be ridiculous. And I think that quality will shine through and they'll breeze past Newcastle. And I'd expect Arsenal just to be hammering them all day long. I don't think Newcastle will dictate much of the ball. That's probably my take on it, really. If pushed, I'd say Arsenal through.
Yeah, I just wouldn't take the 1.5 or whatever you can get right now. It's just hard to, especially the fact that I kind of get the feeling that someone like Smith Rowe, who has completely changed the way we play just because he's a number 10 and he's our only number 10 other than Ozil, and we know Ozil's not going to play. So if you take Smith Rowe out of the team, our attacking threat will decrease significantly, and at least Newcastle are pretty decently set up at the back to sit back and put in the low block and able to defend Arsenal. So maybe be interesting to see what the goal line is here. I can look it up, but maybe if if Arsenal come out with a team lineup that lacks a bit of creativity, then maybe you could be looking at going the unders. I'm just having a look at the goal line now. You can get under 1.5 at 4.8. That seems bloody high. And under 2.5 at 2.3 on BetVictor and Betfair. So, yeah, maybe that's something you can look at when the team lineups come out.
Maybe. I just kind of think, Newcastle have already faced Man City, Liverpool, and Leicester in their last 3 games, and now they've got to face Arsenal, who look to be on a bit of an upward curve. They're winless in 6 matches, and it's just difficult to see them doing any damage to Arsenal on Saturday, and they've not even scored on their last 4 trips to the Emirates. So it wouldn't surprise me to see it stay that way. So even Arsenal on a clean sheet could be a shout. But yeah, so that might be one I'd have a look at potentially. Just Newcastle, they just look toothless up top, even though they got obviously signed Callum Wilson in the summer. They're just a bit disjointed, I feel like. So Arsenal to even win plus a clean sheet again, that might be something I potentially have a look at, just because well, like I said, they just don't score. They don't score goals, and Arsenal
Yeah.
that up. So price-wise, it'll be interesting to see what that is. It's a play I might have, but definitely Arsenal to win this one. Absolutely for me.
Yeah, you can get under 0 goals for Newcastle at 2.25. So yeah, maybe if you pair that with an Arsenal win, you could get something decent. So, all right, cool, mate. Let's move ahead to Manchester United and Watford. Any thoughts on this one, mate? You would assume, Watford now being a championship side, that United will most likely rest a few players, maybe give someone like Van der Beek a bit of a go, considering he hasn't had much time lately. And I don't know, Watford, I think they're kind of sitting around the promotion battle at the moment, like they're up there having a crack. So they might it might be a situation where United field the second string side and Watford do something similar, and I guess the odds are reflected here. I'll just get them up on the screen. 1.36 on Sky Bet you can get for United, draw 5.5, 5.75, and Watford around the 9s mark for the win.
Yeah, it's not surprising to see it all. I don't know if you follow kind of Ben Foster's Watford Keepers YouTube channel. It's this great entertainment, it really is. But you can obviously they've just recently changed managers as well. As you said, they're fighting around the promotion places and the playoff places, but they've come under a lot of stick lately, particularly from their fans who just think performances have dropped and they're not where they should be. Lost a couple of games as well. But promotion for them is absolutely pivotal. Like they need promotion. So again, that's their main aim this season. And I think again for this, everything, and it's reflecting the price, but everything looks to be pointing towards United. When Watford struggling, having that focus elsewhere. Man United coming off the back of an extremely embarrassing defeat, the one and only City. So obviously they're going to want to put things right and get back to winning ways. So yeah, everything points to United. But in terms of the teams, yeah, as you said, Donny van der Beek. Speaking of which, why on earth did they sign Donny van der Beek? Yeah. Why?
And how much? How much was it? 50 or 60?
I thought it was a bit less than that. I thought it was about 40, wasn't it? It was about 40 million or something of that nature.
I'll have a look.
But still, I feel sorry for the lad. He was a starter for an exciting, flamboyant Ajax side. Comes to England, moves his life over here, and just is a bit part player at Man United. He's not been given a fair crack of the whip at all in my book. And he's a decent player. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Maybe even Jesse Lingard coming back in. Obviously Matic as well. Dan James, Mata, Mason Greenwood as starting, including Alex Telles as well potentially. So yeah, they can ring the changes and still put a very, very strong side out that will still be too much for Watford.
Yeah.
United have won 14 of their last 16 games against Watford in all competitions. Have been winning at both a half-time and full-time in their last 4 home against them as well. They've also kept a clean sheet in 5 of their last 6 home matches against Watford. So everything points to United going through, and I don't think you can argue with that. And clearly the bookies think the same with those prices. So I think to get value from this one, again, a half-time, full-time situation, or even on a handicap situation, I think those are the only ways you're going to get a bit of value here, because just outright on the full-time result, there's nothing there. There's nothing there that I want to be getting on personally.
Yeah. Yeah, Donny was signed for £40 million, so apologies for that. But yeah, it's I think their transfer business is just terrible, isn't it? Like they just throw money around with not much thought. It's ironic,
isn't it? Because considering when City first started out, I think the famous sign they held up was "Our players make history, yours make money," and it's like, well, how the tables have turned. But any opportunity I get to dig in after a derby win, I'm going to take it. Apologies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it just seems like they've got no clear strategy there. Kind of similar to Arsenal in a lot of ways, except Arsenal don't have as much money. And I think you just get the feeling that Manchester United just throw money at stuff and hopefully it works. I mean, some of their signings, I know that Maguire's not like the worst centre-back in the world, but to say he's worth 80 million or whatever they paid for him is just absolutely ludicrous. Throw 40 million at Van der Beek. And I mean, you can kind of understand it in the sense that if Fernandez gets injured and he does bear a lot of the load there, but yeah, I mean, surely you can be spending less for a backup number 10.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, in terms of Maguire, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done my fair share of ribbon of, you paid how much for him? 80 million. But at the same time, if they've gone into negotiations and said, we want Harry Maguire, this is the player that we've identified to be the captain of our club at centre half. And Leicester said, that's fine, but this is what you're paying up for him. Like, this is what we want for him. If you want that player and you pay up, then you're held to ransom. And fair enough. Like, you can't always be held to blame. It's obviously happened with City over the years. Clubs know that they've got money, and it's the City tax, as we used to call it. Add an extra 20 million to a player, and obviously that's what we want for him. And I know you worry that sort of United have perhaps experienced some of that themselves now that everyone knows how rich they are. And if you want this player, this is how much you want for him. Otherwise, he's not going anywhere. So, and I think there's a lot of that. But all joking aside, I like Maguire. I think he is a good centre half. I think he has the occasional mishap and doesn't do too well, but if you look at all of the best centre-half pairings down the years, all of them, they've all had a partner, either just as good or someone that they can rely on. And, Lindelof, is he really that man that can sort of partner Maguire to be that solid? I personally don't think so. I think they need another solid centre-half, and then I think you'll see the best out of Maguire. I really do. I think that's when you'll see the best of him, because I'm trying to think who he had at Leicester. Was it Johnny Evans that was next to him when Maguire was there? Potentially. A solid centre half, and okay, he's not world class. He's not one that you rave home about and it's popular, but he did a job well. He did a really good job, and he supported Maguire when he was at Leicester, and I think that's why he did so well. If United get another centre half of that calibre, I think you'll see a much better Maguire. The Maldinis, the Nestors, they can rely on each other because they're so good. All of the greatest centre half pairings have had that. So I don't think it's too fair to write off Maguire and say, he's not great. I think he's doing as best as he can. I think he will come good if they get another player. But yeah, but going back to this game against Watford, again, for me, it's United win all over it all day long, regardless of who Watford put out. They're missing quite a few players themselves, first teamers. They're missing Success, Cathcart. It looks like João Pedro's a doubt as well, and he's been magnificent for them this season. He's been really good. But yeah, so it looks like Foster and Tom Cleverley will both feature as well. So going back to Old Trafford and playing there again. Ismail Sarr was actually heavily linked with the move to United during the summer, I think, as well. So he'll be keen to put on a good show if he gets the nod to play. So there's a few little interesting dynamics of it, but overall, United win. Again, I'd be looking at United at half-time, full-time, similar to the Liverpool game, actually. I think that could potentially be a good play, depending on prices. But yeah, that would be kind of what I'd want to go on for this one, I think.
Yeah, awesome, mate. And I'm back on the centre-back conversation. They were in for Gabriel too, who signed for Arsenal in the end, which is pretty stunning to think that he ended up signing for Arsenal, when they had Champions League football. But I guess people, maybe someone like Gabriel, at least at the time, thought that, Arsenal were on the way up, whereas Manchester United, there's just so much uncertainty. They don't do great business in the transfer market, and you just kind of get the feeling that it's, could be, any week now that OGS gets the sack. And yeah, maybe that was kind of the uncertainty that led him that way. But I mean, if they'd thrown a bit more money, which I'm sure they have a lot more money than Arsenal at him, then maybe they would have gone to United, which would have been a very, very handy pickup and a good partnership for Man United. But I don't think it was Johnny Evans. It wouldn't have been Wes Morgan. Because I think Johnny Evans only came last season. No,
he was there before that. I'm sure he was there before that.
Yeah.
Sure he was. I'm pretty sure it was Johnny Evans. But United have been sniffing around Pau Torres as well. He's at Villarreal, and he is a cracking centre half. He's one of these ones that looks like he's ready to make the step up, and I think that is what they're crying out for. We know their attack's good. I mean, last night's game, you're going to have bad games. You're going to have that where your attack's not on point, and I'd say it was largest where we played. But going back to United, I think another centre-half to partner Maguire just gives him that foundation to bounce off and really build attacks off. And you see Maguire pushing forward, breaking the lines of the midfield to create attacks, which is great. But as Lindelof next to him, he's okay, but he's not a solid centre-half that is going to bail you out time and time again. Or if he puts a challenge in, he commands that back line. I rarely see him do anything, if I'm honest. So I think that should be one of the key areas they address. We hear them about trying to get these luxury players like the Sanchos, the Grealishes. I personally think centre-half is where they're lacking.
Yeah. All right. Good call, mate. I'll just tell everyone that send your questions through now if you've got them for George or I. But we'll start to wrap things up now, mate. Best bet of the weekend, if you have any. It's a bit of tough going, especially with the uncertainty over what lineups will come out. So, any thoughts, mate, on best bets?
I am going to go with. In fact, I'm just looking through here because I'm either going to go on the Arsenal game or I'm going on the Man United game. I'm just trying to quickly find the market for it. So bear with me 1 second and I'll get it for you here. That's it. So I will be going with Manchester United to be winning at half-time, full-time. And you can get that at best price on, looking here. So you get, Sky Bet, and that's 1.91. So that is what I'll be going for there. Man United to be winning at half-time and full-time.
All right. Love it, mate. I don't think I'll give anything away. I just haven't really done any research, but I'd be saying my best tip of the whole weekend would be if you've got a team or a league that you know very well, I'd be waiting for the lineups to come out and pouncing on what could be huge swings in some cases, especially those games like Aston Villa and Liverpool, where Liverpool, it wouldn't shock you if they literally rested all of their first team. So, they would be the cases I'd be looking at. And then, Arsenal, Newcastle's maybe another good example where you could, if Arsenal don't put out their strongest team and don't put out a number 10, the creative force, maybe you could be looking at the unders there too. Just with this game, it's very, very hard for bookmakers. I think that's the main thing. Bookmakers are always in the power position. So they've got all these, fancy quantitative measures that they can, they've got all the data in the world to come up with these prices. But what they can't come up with, what they can't predict is what team's going to come out unless a manager literally says that this person's not going to play. So that would be my main tip for the weekend. See if there's any more questions coming through. We've got one here. It's a bit of a strange one. Don't know if you'll have too much insight into this one, George, but any of you guys believe soccer matches can be fixed, or a lot of sports in general?
I'm sure there's regions somewhere where it goes on, but I wouldn't know anything about it. And I think at the top level, absolutely not. There's no way. I know, obviously, years ago we had the scandal in Serie A, didn't we? But I think that's probably the last of it. I don't think in any top flight, top tier or top competition, that's, the whole of the English Football League and obviously the top leagues around Europe. I don't think matches. I don't think it's possible for matches to be fixed anymore. I just don't think it is.
I actually listened to something very interesting about this. I'm just getting this guy's name up. So he was a former mafia captain. And obviously the mafia are really pretty notorious for trying to fix matches. And this guy's name was Michael Franzese. I don't know if you've heard of him, George, but he's some head of a mafia gang, whatever. And he put out a video about 5 months ago about how they would convince college basketball players to fix games. So I highly recommend just type in Michael Franzese Mafia, and it's an 8-minute video, and it's fantastic to hear how he would convince college basketball players to fix games.
Oh, I can believe it in sports like that, and obviously down at especially college level, obviously because college sports over in America is so popular. It's untrue. But that's kind of football. I think. Obviously in other sports, particularly boxing, the mafia I know they used to have I was there, but obviously I've heard a lot of things and seen a lot of things that have suggested the mafia were involved in boxing to some degree in throwing fights and obviously earning a lot of money because a lot of fighters were involved with the mafia. I think Sonny Liston, for example, was heavily involved with them and obviously weirdly met his end. So we just had a comment as well that says definitely not top 5, but obviously lower leagues. But I think there's obviously potential for lower leagues, but because the top flights and the top leagues they're so watched and the spotlight is on them, I think it'd be too risky to try and do anything there. So potentially in the lower leagues, but again, I wouldn't really know about all that.
And mate, if you did know, you wouldn't be telling anyone.
Well, you also get a lot of people spouting on Twitter. I don't know if you've had them yourself, but you've seen them online. But it's if you want fixed games for the one-off payment of this amount, I can tell you what they are and who they are, and it's
Yeah,
By the
cheers,
way,
mate.
that's my other tip for the weekend. Ignore them.
Oh god, classic. I mean, this guy's thrown Diego Maradona under the bus too. He used to cooperate with the Italian mafia in Napoli. So, look, he could be right, but
Allegedly.
But just look into it. And then you've also got, like you said, YB Wipe. Some great names on YouTube. Definitely not top 5, but of course lower leagues it happens to. But I mean, it's all speculative stuff, and we're not about speculative stuff here. We're about hard grained facts. We're not those kind of people. Yeah, we're all about facts here. All right, let's call it a day. You can find George at @CGeorgeGamble on Twitter, and obviously check out his stuff that he's writing for We Love Betting. Always insightful stuff and always picking up winners. And yeah, as I've said before, you can I'll just get this little promo up again. If you want to shave your nether regions, get them firing on all cylinders, make the missus happy, make the prospective weekend, whatever you want to call it, if you want to make them happy. I was going to say target, but I was like, that sounds a bit fucked. Yeah, then you can go get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TRADEMATE at manscaped.com. We've done the quiz question of the week. So to finish up, we've got our next podcast it'll either be this preview next Thursday, live preview with Nigel and hopefully George too. That'll be the same time next Thursday, or I think we will be back on Wednesday with the UFC preview. There's a ton of UFC cards coming up. We've got a midweek one too in a couple of weeks. So Jonas and Ryan will have you covered there with the UFC coming back. But other than that, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you give this stream a quick like. It would be very much appreciated so we can keep getting out these betting previews to you and also more podcasts. And if you do listen on the podcast app, just do a quick rate and review. It would mean a lot for us. And if you're looking to implement some of the strategies we talk about weekly, more so the value betting ones, start a free week trial of TradeMate Sports and start your value betting journey. George, mate, once again, you've been superb, and thanks for coming along. And, mate, have a good weekend, and we'll catch up next week.
Cheers for having me. Have a good weekend yourself. Hope we're coming back next week with both our teams winning.
Yes, happy days, mate. All right, catch you later.